Good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So the last time we met, we were discussing on how to account for labor cost, okay? And we discussed the different remuneration method you can have. We discussed on the time work, where the pay to the employee is based on the number of time, the number of hours, okay, or maybe based on time, okay? It is time based, more or less, okay? We also did discuss on pay that is piecework, okay, where the pay to the employee is based on the output of their work, okay? How many units have you made, okay? How many, if it's about construction, how many kilometers have you constructed, okay? So it is about the output, okay? The basis of is about the output, the units that are being produced by this particular employee, okay? We will discuss that you can have the case of the bonus, okay, what we call the incentive schemes, okay, where the bonus is not based on the employee, okay, it's not based on the hours they have worked, it's not based on the output of their work, okay. However, it is going to be, it's a one-off pay, okay, that's the term to use, okay, it's a one-off pay, okay, either based at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, okay, so it's a one-off pay where the employee, it is not based on the individual employee, maybe output, okay, it's not based on the individual employee output or the hours they have worked, okay, it's simply a way of trying to sort of give an incentive to the employees, okay, of the company, okay. We also discussed that at the end of the day, okay, when it comes to the calculation, okay, of the if there's some proposals, okay, the company may be having, okay, if there are proposals the company may be having, they want to change the incentive schemes, okay, they want to change how they do incentivize the employees, okay. We did say that at the end of the day, it's all enough as a company. You sit down and you do the analysis, okay. If we give the employees this particular proposal, okay, if we give the employee this particular pay structure, okay, what is going to be the effect to have on the total labor cost of the company, okay? So we did say that you have to make that evaluation, okay? You make a comparison. What's the current cost? What's the cost in case we were to, what would be the cost in case as a company we are going to change the policy, okay? And you see that if the policy is only going to be good, okay? Sorry. The policy is going to only be good, okay? For example, this question that we did discuss together, okay? But you see that at the end of the day, okay, as a company, you have to evaluate, okay? If we implement this proposal, what would be the cost? What's the current cost, okay, to the company? Okay, what's the cost of making, for example, one unit? Okay, if we implement the proposal, what's going to be the cost that the company will be carrying for every one unit that the company is going to be making? Okay, and it's that it is on the proposal will only be good if the cost is going to be reducing. Okay. And I think we did see that in the current situation, the cost was 0.96, and the proposal was 0.69, if I remember very well. Okay. And we see that this is a good proposal. Why? Because the cost per unit, the labor cost per unit is decreasing. Okay. So that's the evaluation, okay, of the proposed changes towards the payment or the pay to the employee. Okay. Now today let's discuss what we call the gross and net earnings. Okay, the gross and net earnings. Okay. Now don't forget the day. Okay, the employees that will be working in most cases, the employees will be working in a case where there's tax payment. Okay, there are deductions that the employee will have to suffer along the way. Okay, in the sense that the pay to the employee, okay, the gross pay and the net pay, they be different. Okay, if you have country where there's no taxes, okay, very rare. Okay. Then the gross is equal to the net. Okay, the net is the take home. Okay, in quote. Okay, net is what you take home. The gross is what you, if there was no deduction, if there was no taxes, okay, what would have been your pay as an employee? Okay, that's referred to as the gross pay. Okay, net earnings is the take home. Okay, if you have to use that term. Okay, how much money do you take home? Okay, you're paid 1 million maybe, but how much do you take home? Okay, out of the 1 million, how much goes into your account? Okay. It is not going to be equal to 1 million, your gross pay. Okay. And the gross pay is the total amount earned by the employee over a given time period. Okay, that's referred to as the gross pay. Total amount earned by an employee over a given time period. Okay. Net pay is the amount paid to the employee after the employee makes deductions for income taxes and statutory deduction. Okay. So the net pay, as I mentioned, is the take home. Okay. After if you earn, let's say 100,000, okay, in a month you earn 100,000, okay, this tax we paid, for example, okay, tax, let's say 20,000, okay, you do pay to NSF, okay, case of Kenya, you do pay to NHIF, okay, you do have some other deduction, housing allowances, where you pay tax on the housing allowances given to you by the employer. So at the end of the day, okay, once we make the deduction, all those deductions, the taxes, the contribution you're making towards pension schemes, okay, NHIF and NSSF, okay. So at the end of the day, okay, what's the total amount what is the net amount that goes into, in quote, your bank account, okay, or called the take home, that we refer to as the net pay. Okay, don't forget, it is your contribution, okay, it is not the employer's contribution, it's your contribution, okay, it's gross pay minus your contribution, okay, for the employer. Don't forget, the employer also will be making some contribution in some cases, okay. The total labor cost to the employer, okay, here now the cost to the employer, okay, is of course the gross pay plus any additional payroll taxes, and even in case of pension cost that the employer has to bear, okay. What you mean by that is that the company may be, for example, be making contribution towards the employee, okay. For example, the employer, this gross pay, okay, then the employer, for example, do make pension cost, okay. So this particular company, okay, for instance, they do have a scheme where the employee contributes a portion towards the pension scheme, and the employer also make a contribution towards the employee, the scheme of that employee, okay. If, for example, pension scheme, okay, the contribution is 10,000, the employer matches what the employee is contributing, okay. Therefore, what that means, therefore, is that, okay, if the cost is going to be 10,000, the cost to the employee, the deduction for the pension scheme is 10,000, okay. The employer also matches that 10,000. The cost to the employer, to the company, will be the gross pay plus the share of contribution. In this case, for example, the 10,000. Okay. So, if, for example, the pay was 100,000. Okay. The gross pay to the employee was 100,000. To the employer, the cost is 110,000. Okay. The gross pay to the employee of 100,000 plus the 10,000 that the employer is paying for the sake of a pension scheme. Okay. The contribution that the employer is making. Okay. So any contribution or any pay that the employer makes, okay, on behalf of the employee, okay, that is not part and parcel of the gross pay, okay. So you can therefore what we call the cost to the employer, okay. You'll be asked questions, okay. We're going to do one question right now, okay, where you meant to get the gross pay, you get the net pay, and you also get the labor cost to the employer, okay. So you have to be a bit careful, okay, when doing some of these calculations, okay. Anyway, let's do a question here. Okay, so go through this question, then we attempt to do it together. Okay, we want to determine those three things. Okay, the net pay, the gross pay, of course, the net pay, as well as the labor cost to the employer. So go through it, then we discuss together. Okay, please suppose that you have gone through the question and you see that what is expected of you. Okay, so in this case, you mean to get the cost, the net pay to the employee, and as well as the labor cost to the employer. Okay, so let's attempt to do it together. Okay, so in this example, we show that the rate per hour to the employee is 7 for the first 5 hours. Okay, any hour is paid at time and a half. Okay, during this week, the employee worked 41 hours. Therefore, so the gross pay to this employee, okay, the gross pay to the employee, therefore, should be equal to, first you need to get the basic pay and the basic hours. Basic pay at standard rate. This is that 5. The employee is meant to work that 5 hours, okay, and every hour they're meant to be paid $7. Therefore, what's the pay? What's the basic pay for the standard hours?
$245.
$245. Okay, now this employee did work for overtime. Okay, so just call it total overtime pay. Okay, total overtime pay. Total overtime pay to this employee. They worked for 41 hours. Okay, they were meant to have worked for that 5 hours, so therefore they did work 6 extra hours. 6 hours. Okay, times the pay. The pay is 1.5. Okay, of the normal pay, and the normal pay is $7. Okay, therefore, what's the total pay for the overtime?
63.
63. Okay, 63. Therefore, the gross pay to this employee, therefore, was 245 plus 63 to give us how much?
308.
$38. Okay, therefore, that's the pay to the employee for that particular week. Okay, that's a gross pay. Okay, the net pay to the employee, for that time period will be equal to the gross pay. Okay, gross pay minus the taxes. Okay, minus any employee contributions. For that particular time period. Okay, the gross pay was 308. Okay, there was tax of 55. Okay. Tax of 55. Then there was employee contribution, benefit contribution for the week, which was $28. Therefore, minus 28 to give us how much? That would be the net pay.
25.
225.
Yeah.
$225 kind of for the net pay to the employee. Okay. Then we meant to get the labor cost to the employer, to the company, that is. Okay, labor cost to the company will be equal to the gross pay of the employee gross pay, okay, plus any employer contribution, okay, plus any employer's contribution they're making on behalf of this employee. Okay, which will be equal to the gross pay is equal to $308, okay. The employer contribution for that particular employee for the particular time period was $29. They have plus $29 to give us
337.
give us $337 kind of for the employers or the labor cost to the company. Okay, that's how we determine therefore the gross pay, the net pay, as well as the labor cost. Okay. Question? Okay, no question. Great. Okay, there's accounting determining the gross net pay as well as the employer's cost. Now, when it comes to passing on the journal entries, okay, that is when it comes to passing on the accounting entries, okay, the gross pay, of course, therefore, is debited to the wage control account. Okay, don't forget your control account. Okay, that is going to be having all the costs. Okay, be direct as well as all in the direct costs. So the gross pay, okay, without making the distinction of whether it is direct or it is indirect, okay, is going to be appearing on the wage control account. The wage control account as a debit. Okay, now forget. Okay. And let me just draw the T accounts. Okay, the T accounts make things they're a bit easier to understand. Okay. Okay, so let me just share. Allow me to do that. Okay, assume not out of the 308 here. Okay, assume out of the 308. Okay, we are going to be having a portion of it is going to be gross pay. So assume that here you're going to have wage control account. Okay, you're going to have work in progress account. Okay, and again we have in here production overhead account. Okay, production overhead account. Okay. You'll get any entry has a debit and a credit side. Okay, so you see that the gross pay will appear here as a debit. So gross pay, okay, will be equal, for example, 38,000. Okay, assume that you just want to assume that 200 of it. Okay, so assume that $200 is direct cost. Therefore, you're going to have work in progress. Okay, this for the case of the direct cost. Direct cost, okay, will be equal to 200. This is I'm just assuming. Okay. Then assume that the difference on weight is therefore a part of overhead. Okay, this is therefore the difference. Production goes therefore to production overhead. Okay, production overhead cost. Okay, $108,000. Okay, the balance of. Okay, then here work in progress account. Okay, in the work in progress account, you'll be having this was a credit entry here. This is a credit entry, therefore count therefore debit on their side. They're going to have wage control account here. Let me make it a bit more presentable. Okay, wage control account. Then we'll be having here work in progress account. Work in progress account. Yes, James.
I wanted you to scroll up a bit, like the part where you took total overtime pay is equals to 6 into 3/2 multiplied by 7.
Okay,
I didn't get that.
Okay, I'll go back. Let's finish this. Okay, I'll go back. Okay. So anyway, so that we first have the wage control account. Okay, as we mentioned, the gross pay will appear as a debit side on the wage control account. Okay, then the amount that is the part that is direct cost. Okay, will therefore be part of the work in progress. Therefore, this is work in progress, which is, for example, 200. Okay, the indirect costs become part of therefore the production overhead cost. Okay, so I want to open the two accounts: work in progress account. Okay, log this is a credit, therefore this is a debit. I call this wage control account. Okay, wages control account equal to $200. Okay, and here I'll be having production overhead account. Okay, to where I'll be having all the indirect costs. Okay, which this is the wage control account. Okay, for $108. Okay, that was simply we account for the labor cost. Okay, so anyway, for the sake of James, let me scroll up here. James, here is what wanted.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 by here we have calculated total overtime pay.
Yes, what about it, James?
Yeah, I didn't understand why you've calculated the total overtime pay.
Because how many hours is this employee meant to work in a week?
Yeah.
How many hours is this employee meant to work in a week?
41.
How many hours is the employee required to work?
35.
35. This employee is meant to work 35 hours. How many hours did the employee work that week?
41.
Was the overtime or the extra hours?
6
hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we do that every overtime hour that the employee work, he is paid half more than the normal. Okay, which is 1.5. Okay, normally the employee is paid $7, isn't it? Normally.
Yeah.
But in case they work overtime, for an overtime hour, they're paid half more. Okay, therefore maybe 7 plus half of 7, isn't it?
Yeah.
Give us 10.5, isn't it?
Yes.
Which is what we have here.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah, I got it.
Any other question? Okay, no question. Okay, so that's on the accounting for the labor cost. Okay, suppose you've gone through that. So the double entry, okay, just as mentioned, should be as follow. Okay, I think you've mentioned you're going to debit work in progress account, like you just done. Okay, you're going to credit the control account with the gross wages. Okay, then you mentioned that don't forget you're going to have the work in progress account. Okay, being the what's a minute, because we need to have the wage work in progress with the employer payroll tax. Okay, that's in case accounting for tax. Wage control account. Okay, here we need to add some few more, the one you just mentioned. Production overhead account. Seems it doesn't appear here. Anyway, so in addition to what you just mentioned in this other slide, okay, so here what you have just mentioned here, okay, then you can have the following. Okay, Marvin, you had a question?
No, I wanted you to go back.
Okay,
But
so this slide.
yes, no, the other.
Which one?
Up there.
This one.
Yes.
Okay, production overhead account, work in progress account entries, the wage control account entries. Okay, and don't forget you're going to be this entry here. I don't need just a minute. This entry here. This entry, ignore it for now. Okay, let me just rub it off actually. It goes against what we just discussed there. Because you're going to be debiting the work in progress account with the gross pay. So let me get this out. So that's how we account for the labor cost. Okay, that's how we account for labor cost. Any question on the topic? Okay, no questions.
So there's a question. I lifted my hand. So there it's debit wages control account.
Debit wage control account,
with
yes. With the gross pay, yes.
Oh, okay.
With the gross pay, yes.
Oh, I'm saying it's not written there.
Oh, it's not written what it is. Oh, okay. This is debit pay, wage, gross pay, or the gross, yes, gross earnings. Okay, so that's on how we account for the labor cost. For the labor cost. Okay. And now, since you have covered a substantial bit of the syllabus now, by the way, to me, therefore, we need to prepare for the cut. So it's good enough because you have covered quite a substantial bit of the syllabus by now. Okay. When are you meant to have the cut? On Fridays? Is it on Fridays? Okay, so overhead costs, as we have been discussing so far, these are costs that generally they're not incurred, or they don't, at the end of the day, they will not be forming part of the inventory costs. Okay, the case of the indirect labor costs that we have been discussing, the indirect material cost. Okay, so how do you account for them? How do you account for those overhead costs? Okay, that is what we want to discuss in this particular topic. Okay, accounting for overhead cost. Okay, the first of course is to determine, okay, what are overhead costs. Okay, and then we determine, okay, how do we allocate overheads, okay, that have, for example, been incurred elsewhere, and you want to allocate them to a particular department. Okay, we'll call cost allocation. Okay, or cost absorption. Okay, that's what we'll be discussing in this topic. Okay, about accounting for overhead costs. Okay. So in this topic, we'll be discussing the process of production overhead absorption in the cost of production cost of the production units. Okay, so how would we absorb? Okay, don't forget, if you remember when we were discussing on how we can determine the product cost, we said you can use two methods. Okay, we said you can use two methods. Let me just get one of you to tell us.
Yes.
Okay, we see that when it comes to determination of the cost of a product, there are two methods you can use. Okay, which are these two methods?
Pardon?
When it comes to getting the cost of a product, there are two methods you can use to estimate the cost of product. Okay, which are these two methods?
Sir, I can't remember them.
You need to remember. Marvin.
Yes. I think the first in and the first in, first out, and the last in, last out.
That was
last in, first out.
That was getting the cost of, or that was getting the value of a closing inventory. If you remember, those about getting, that is on inventory valuation, not getting the cost of the product. Hey, Ishmael.
Yes, marginal costing and absorption costing.
Yes, there are two methods: marginal costing and absorption costing method. You guys, you have to remember these things. Okay, this will be asked in the exam. Okay, so there are two methods. You have the marginal costing method and you have the absorption costing method. Okay, so this topic we will be discussing more towards the absorption costing method. Okay, the absorption costing method. Okay, you have to remember these things, guys. So when it comes to therefore the absorption costing method, okay, we want to determine therefore, okay, as per the first bullet point there, okay, is how therefore what's the process, okay, that we use when it comes to absorption of this cost into the product cost when determining the cost of the product. Okay. Production overheads sharing the cost center. If, for example, we do have a case where we have a production department, okay, let's say the example, okay, we have Unilever, okay, they have maybe production for Bluebird, okay, this is a department on its own, okay, production department for Bluebird only, okay, then you have for the Omo, okay, so look, these are two production departments, Omo and Bluebird. So they may be using, not they may, they will be using, okay, the finance department, okay, they'll be using accountants, okay, but don't forget these accountants is what we call, it's there to serve this two department, okay. Let me actually just illustrate what I want to mean, okay. Okay, we have, for example, let's just do the case of Unilever, okay, where they have more than one production department, okay. So here you have almost, this is Unilever, okay, we have the department here, then we call this accounting and finance department, okay, and finance department. Okay, we have here Omo department, let me call it Omo department, and we have the Blue Band department. Okay, now these two, okay, are involved in production. They are involved in making products. Okay, and this department is there to serve. Okay, this is how it's defined as the service department. Okay, is there to serve the OMO and the BUBA department and many others. Okay, now I want to determine how, therefore, this cost of this service department is there to serve these two. Okay, the OMO and the Bloomberg. If there's a cost incurred here, okay, if the costs that are, there will be cost incurred here, the pay you make to these employees, okay, the cost incurred here, if for example you have cost of 10,000 per month incurred in learning this department, that is meant to be shared across these two departments, okay, in whatever base you're going to be using, okay. So how therefore do we allocate this cost of the service department, 10,000 for example, okay, among these two departments, okay. That's what we'll be discussing also in this topic, okay. Where you have a service department that is here to serve other production departments, okay. Therefore, the issue here is about how therefore do we allocate the cost of this service department, the 10,000, among the production department, the OMO and the Bloomberg, okay. That's what we shall be discussing also in this topic. And among the products made in the cost centers, okay, and therefore the next thing, okay, so first we have said is about cost allocation among the service department center, we allocate among this department. Then how do we allocate the cost among the individual products that are made within the department, okay, how therefore do we allocate the cost among the number of kgs of OMO produced, for example, okay, number of kgs produced. One of the way you can allocate is based on the kg, okay. The costs are going to, you can allocate the cost. If the cost for this department was, let's say, in a month was, let's say, $50,000, okay, and then if the month we made, for example, let's say 1,000 kgs of OMO that particular month, we can say therefore for every 1 kg we shall be selling, and then the costs that need to be absorbed into it will be equal to 1,000, okay, will be equal to 50,000 divided by 1,000, okay. So here the allocation is based, for example, on the number of kgs produced in a given month. Therefore, every kg we'll be selling, we are going to be attaching a cost of, let's say, $50, 50 shillings. Okay, that is what we mean by allocation of the cost of product, the cost of the department among the units that are being produced. Okay, so first, okay, the first bit is to determine the cost for each of the department, get the cost for each department, the accounting department, the OMO department, the Bluebird department. Okay, then for those departments that are service centers, okay, for those departments that are service centers, allocate the service cost, among the production department, OMO and the Bluebird. Okay, once you've done that, allocate the cost of the OMO department, for example, among the products being made for the particular time period. Okay, so this is what we shall be discussing in this topic, more or less. As we had mentioned, when it comes to the absorption costing method, okay, with that we're going to be using, okay, we don't forget that the overhead costs, the production overhead costs need to be absorbed into the cost of the product. Okay, they will need to be absorbed into the cost of the product. Okay, and overhead are made of, we mentioned this, okay, they're made of indirect material, indirect labor, okay, which have just been mentioning, okay, material, okay, you have labor costs, and the case of the indirect expense, okay, the total is what we refer to as the overhead cost, okay, total of those is what we refer to as the overhead cost. And as you mentioned, okay, and we did this, okay, when it comes to getting the product cost, okay, we say that in case we're going to be using the absorption costing method, then the production overhead costs need to be part and parcel of the product cost, okay, as opposed to the use of the marginal costing method, okay, as opposed to the use of the marginal costing method, okay. Under the absorption costing principles, the production overhead of a business are absorbed into the cost of each of the products that is being produced, okay. That every unit to be producing, it need to have a share, okay. It need to have a share of the production overhead cost. It need to have a share of the production overhead cost, okay. I hope we should remember how you get the cost of the product at absorption and cost of the product at the marginal costing method. Okay, I hope you still remember that. Okay, if you can't remember, go back to the notes. Okay, because with this method, we have already done the discussion on it. Okay, how do you get the cost of the product at the absorption costing method and the cost of the product at the marginal costing method. If you can't remember, please go back to your notes. Now, as you mentioned, don't forget today, we need to do what we call allocation and apportionment of overhead. Okay, allocation and apportionment of the overheads. Okay, first step is allocate any specified production overheads to the individual cost centers that have been incurred, that have incurred them using a suitable criteria. Okay, I think I mentioned that we need, the first step is you need to determine what was the cost of the finance department, the one we just done here for that hypothetical case of Unilever. Okay, get us to determine what was the total cost that was incurred in running this particular department, or more in running this department of, I don't know, Bluebird, in running this department for finance department. Get to understand, get to know what is the total overhead cost for running each of those departments. Okay, that's when you that first step. Okay, allocate any specified production overhead to the individual cost centers. Okay, so get to know what was the cost for the finance department, what was the cost for production department. Okay, what was the cost for this other department. That's the first step. Getting to understand the cost that was incurred in running that particular department. Okay. Next, reapportion the service cost centers overhead to the production cost centers. Okay. We have called the service centers. Okay. Example: the finance department, as I mentioned, it's there to serve the OMO department. Is there to serve the Bluebird department. Okay. So that's called a service center. It's called service center. Since this service center is there, okay, to serve the two departments, okay, the OMO and the Bluebird. Okay, so what do you do now? Okay, since now we do have the service center, they have the cost of a service center. Okay, okay, this center will not have incurred a cost if they are not serving these two departments. Therefore, the next thing, what do? You allocate the cost among the departments, the production department. Okay, the 50,000, the 10,000 that was incurred in the finance department, allocated among the OMO department and the Bluebird department. Okay. That reapportion the service cost center overheads to the production cost centers. Okay, don't forget these service centers are there to serve the production department. Okay, therefore the cost incurred by those departments, those service departments, need to be part of the cost of the production department. That's why you're trying to reapportion the cost among those two departments. Clear? Okay. Now I want us to know we do through what we just said through a question. Okay, I want us to do this through a question. So go through this question, then we shall attempt to do it together. Okay, so go through it, put down somewhere, then shall come back in 2 minutes time. We attempt to do it together. Okay, I hope you have enough time to interact with the question and wonder how you're meant to do it. So let's see how you're meant to approach this question. You're meant to do this question. You see that in this question, the first step is to, as we had mentioned, is to get the cost for each of the department. Okay, which that's what we need first to do. We get the cost for each of the department. In this example, the 3 departments: preparation, assembly, and canteen. Okay, and we told that there are 2 production departments: preparation and assembly. And of course, canteen therefore means the canteen is a service department. Canteen is there to serve the 2 production departments. Okay, but now we first need to get the cost for each of the 3 departments. Okay, so let's begin by having here the preparation. We call this preparation department. Then you have assembly here, assembly department. Then you have canteen department. We need the cost for each one of them. Okay, you know that the fixed overhead as for rent, so we can begin by getting rent. And rent, the total rent the company is paid was 45,000. Okay, so you need to determine how do we allocate this 45,000 among the departments? What basis do we use? We want to allocate the rent. What basis do we use to allocate the rent among these 3 departments? Hamida. Hamida.
Yes.
What basis do we use? Hamida. Hamida, we can't hear you. Hamida, we can't hear you. Hamida, are you in class? Okay, Hamida is not in class. Okay. Emmanuel.
Yes, Chair.
Mhm. Emmanuel, you've gone mute.
I've just entered the class, Chair. Maybe you can pardon the question.
What basis we want to allocate the rent? The total rent for the three departments was equal to 45,000. So you want to allocate, how therefore do you allocate this 45,000 among these three departments? Joshua.
I'm not sure, but can you use floor area?
Of course, we use the floor area. How do you pay rent? Rent is based on the size of the building, the size of the floor. Okay, so we can therefore be allocated this 45,000 based on the size of the floor. Yes, of course it is. Hey, guys. Okay, so you allocate based on the floor. So that's therefore our first working. Okay, so workings. You're going to allocate the rent. So this is on rent, and rent is going based on the floor space. The total floor space is 400, preparation 500, and 100 for canteen. Total to give us 1,000. Okay, to give therefore 1,000. Okay. To give therefore 1,000. Okay, to be therefore the floor space. Okay, therefore rent for the preparation department, let me just call it P. Okay, will be equal to therefore 400 divided by the total 1,000 times 4,500, 45,000. Same applies for the assembly, let me call it A. Okay, we go to 500 out of 1,000 times 45,000. Okay, then this is canteen to be equal to 100 divided by 1,000 times 45,000. Let's give us for 4,500. Okay, just give us how much the for preparation department. What do you get?
$18,000 for
18,000 for the rent. 18,000. They're correct. Assembly is okay. And canteen. Okay, rent 18,000. Assembly is equal to 22,500, and for canteen get 4,500. Okay, that's for the rent. Then you have insurance. The next overhead we have is insurance cost. And insurance cost, which is equal to 5,400. So therefore, the next is we need to allocate the insurance cost among the three departments. Okay, so insurance cost. Okay, preparation, assembly, and canteen. What basis do we use this time around? What basis do we use when it comes to allocation of the insurance cost? Jay? Jay? Jay Vasani?
Yes.
The total insurance cost was 5,400. We want to allocate the insurance cost among the three departments. What basis do we use? No idea. Jay?
Yeah.
Hey, Vanessa? Vanessa?
Yes.
What basis do you use? Insurance. Hey, you guys. Munira.
Yes, sir. We use the machine value.
Yes, machine value. Okay, we use logit. This is about the machine that each department has. So they take insurance cover for them. Okay, therefore use the machine value. Okay, therefore the total machine value is equal to 180,000, which is 94 plus 80 plus 6 to give us therefore 180,000. The machine value for preparation is 94,000 out of 180,000. For 94,000 out of 180,000 time the insurance cost incurred, which was 5,400. For the assembly, it is 80,000. Okay, divide by 180,000 times the insurance cost, 5,400. For canteen, the same thing will happen. It will be equal machine value 6,000 divided by the total 180,000. Okay, times the insurance cost of 5,400. Give us how much for preparation? What the insurance cost?
So for preparation is 2820.
2820. Assembly?
2,400.
2,400. Canteen?
180.
180. Okay, give us 180. Okay, therefore. Yvonne?
We use the employee cost.
Because we use the employee. Don't forget, it's best to use the employee. Okay, employee basis is better because what is the purpose of canteen? Okay, it's definitely is more towards refreshment, offering refreshments to the employees. Therefore, use the number of employees. Okay, therefore use the number of employees. Okay, therefore, you can come here. We do working 3 is canteen cost. Okay, basis of allocation is the number of employees. Preparation, the total number of employees, 8 plus 6 plus 2 to give us 16. Therefore, preparation is 8 out of 16 times the cost of canteen, which is equal to 12,000. Assembly will be equal to 6 employees out of 16 times 12,000. Okay, canteen is two employees out of 16 times 12,000. Okay, preparation, therefore, this was the cost, 6,000.
6,000.
Okay. For assembly?
4,500.
4,500. And for canteen? 1,500.
Yeah.
1,500. Okay, canteen cost allocation 6,000. 4,500. And you have 1,500 for canteen. Okay. And then the last overhead is electricity, the cost of electricity. Okay. Which we told is equal to 40,000. Okay, this is very easy. Okay, we allocate based on the power consumption. Okay, that for the case of the allocation of electricity is based on the power consumption. So working for preparation, this is working for electricity. Preparation, assembly, and canteen. For the preparation, they consume 25%, so times 40,000. Assembly is equal to 20% times 40,000. Canteen is 5% times 40,000. Give us how much for preparation? 30,000?
Yeah, that
8,000 and 2,000. Confirm. They okay?
Yeah, they're okay.
Okay, great. So therefore, electricity here 30,000, 8,000, and 2,000. Okay, that's the allocation of the overhead among those departments. That is it. So total overhead for preparation department, for assembly department, and for the canteen department. Okay, how much do you get for each of the department? Work it out.
For preparation is 56,820.
56,820.
Yeah.
Okay, assembly.
$37,400.
37,400.
Yeah.
Okay, for canteen.
8,180.
8,180. That's called the allocation. Okay, that's the cost allocation among the different departments. Okay, there's the cost allocation among the different department, preparation, assembly, as well as canteen. Okay, that's first step. Getting the cost from each of the department. Okay, this is the second step. Okay, determining the total cost from each of the department, both production and as well as service departments. Clear? Okay, great. Now we need, that's first part of the first part of the question. The second part of the question is asking us to, just a minute, reapportion the cost of service center cost and service cost center, okay, among the production department. There are only two production department. We have preparation and you have assembly. The canteen department is a service center. So you want to allocate this cost of the canteen. The canteen is there to serve the two departments, don't forget, okay? Therefore, the canteen department is a service center for the preparation and the assembly department. So we need to reapportion this cost among these two departments, okay? That's the next bit of the question, okay? Now, this is a canteen cost, okay? What's the base of allocation? What's the base for canteen allocation? James?
Yeah, I had a question.
Mm.
Like, I've not understood the part from rent, where I've calculated rent for preparation
James,
for yeah.
You're dropping out so much. What's happening?
I just missed that part.
Yeah, don't forget, for rent, we say that you're going to be allocating rent based on the floor area, okay? For the insurance, you're going to be allocating the insurance based on the machine value, okay? For the canteen, you're going to be allocating the canteen cost based on the number of employees, because canteen, the best way is because canteen is there to serve the employees, okay? So therefore, you allocate the cost based on the number of employees for each of the department. Now, the cost of electricity, okay, is based on the power consumption, which is given in the question there, okay? So that's the basis upon which you're going to be allocating those costs. Rent is floor area, insurance is machine value, canteen is based on the number of employees, and of course, electricity is based on the power consumptions. You can see there.
Okay. Could you scroll down a bit on the workings?
Yeah, those are the workings.
Okay.
Tell me once you're done.
Okay.
Done, James?
Yeah, I think we should scroll down more. Or is this it? Like, yeah, I need to copy electricity. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. So you need to reapportion the cost of the canteen, okay, among the two production departments. They're the one who are involved in production either way. Canteen is there to serve them, okay. And don't forget, as we mentioned, the canteen cost is the allocation of the canteen cost, okay. The canteen overhead cost, therefore, is based on the employee of each of those departments, okay. Therefore, here is reapportionment of canteen cost. Okay, so therefore, canteen cost, okay, we see it is equal to 8180, okay, and we are going to reapportion that canteen cost based on the employees. Okay, so here is the allocation. This is preparation department and the assembly department. The preparation department has 8 employees, okay, out of 14. Okay, the assembly department has 6 out of the 14. Okay, therefore you multiply by the cost of canteen 8180 times 8180. Give us how much for the preparation?
Uh, 4674.29.
You know the decimal, 46?
4674.29.
Okay, so let's just ignore the decimal, 4674. Okay, the assembly.
3,505.71.
3,000, ignore the decimal.
Okay, 3,505.
505. 506.
Sir, it is 3505.
05, the nearest is 06, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that 506. Therefore, the total overhead, the total production overhead cost, the total overhead, okay, total overhead to the two production department, total overhead, okay, preparation, okay, department, and here is the assembly department. There are only 2 of them. Okay, you can see that overhead allocated. Okay, for the preparation, we got 56 something, 56, 820, 56, 820. The assembly is how much? Is that 400? That 400. Is it 400? Yeah, I guess. Yes, 400. Then the apportionment, canteen overhead the apportionment. This is canteen overhead reapportionment or reapportion cost. Okay, for the preparation, we have done it's 4674, 4674, and you have that 506, that 506. Therefore, total overhead absorbed Is that much for the preparation and for the canteen? 60?
61, 494.
61, 494. 61, 494. Okay. And for the assembly? 40?
4906.
And get 4906. Therefore, to be the total overhead to be allocated towards the assembly and towards the preparation 61, 494. Any question? So what we have to be quite careful is on how the overhead are being absorbed into each of the departments. Okay, what the basis? Okay, what's the basis of the absorption of the cost? Is it based on the floor area, machine value, employees? So you have to, that's what we have to be quite careful. Okay, what's the basis upon which these overheads are being absorbed? Okay, what's the basis? Once you get to know the basis, and of course, the basis is out of logic. Okay, it's out of logic. Okay, how is rent charged? Okay, in reality, how is rent going to be charged? It's based on the floor area. Okay, the insurance cost. How do you charge the insurance? Okay, maybe if it's a building, then it's can be based on the floor area. But if they are machines, it's based on their value. Okay, what about the power consumption? Okay, maybe it's going to be you can use the meters. Okay, to determine therefore what's the reading for each of the area. If we are what's the power consumption, okay, for each of the department, okay, or the power consumption for each of the department. That's how the power is going to be charged. That's how the cost of electricity is going to be charged on, okay, based on the consumption. How much units did each of the department consume, okay? How much of units of electricity has this each consumed, okay? So the use of logic, okay, that's where we, because sometimes in this example, okay, it's a bit straightforward, okay, but you can have case where it is a bit confused. So you'll have to check what's the logic, okay? How is this particular cost normally incurred? What's the base upon which it is charged, okay? Clear? Question? Okay, if there's no question, then fair enough. We can meet tomorrow then. If there's no question, we meet tomorrow. We proceed from there. We shall do more questions on this overhead absorption because you do need to know them. James?
Could you send the recording for today's class and also Thursday and Friday last week?
Yes, I'll try. It is because of time, but I'll try to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to do that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, question?